Good afternoon. My name is Thomas Tedder. I'm originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, but currently living in Savannah, Georgia. Been here for about 7 years and um, basically serving as a music teacher at a local school here in the city. And I'm also the assistant head coach and offensive coordinator at New Hampstead High School. And I just want to thank for this opportunity to give my oral presentation on accountability. First thing we have to do is we have to define what accountability is. And basically, accountability from the Webster's Dictionary basically says that it means that an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility for one's own actions. I think today we come across a society of kids where they just have a problem of just owning up to what they did. Either it was right or wrong. It's always somebody else's fault, but they need to learn how to become more accountable in today's society. The three takeaways that we're going to talk about in my PowerPoint is number one, treat others the way that you want to be treated. That'll be our first takeaway. Our second takeaway will be taking ownership for one's actions. That'll be our second takeaway. And our third takeaway that we're going to be on our PowerPoint today is doing the right thing isn't always easy, especially when no one's looking at you. You know, I think we have a tendency to always want to just say, well, you know, hey, that person's not here and I might be able to get away with it. But at the end of the day, you're still going to have to make an account for what you did. And sometimes we make the wrong judgment call and that, you know, we end up paying the price at the end. Well, our first takeaway says, treat others the way that you want to be treated. And basically that's going to be, if we live by the golden rule, this will be the first step of being, you know, the first step of working towards being more accountable with our actions. According to Matthew 7:12 in the Bible, it says that, therefore all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. So basically that's just saying, you know, treat others the way that you want to be treated. If you treat people nasty, they're going to treat you nasty in return. That's one thing. That's always been one of my golden rules as far as my own classroom, because I want my kids to understand that in this room, we're going to treat each other with respect and kindness. And if we do that, we're going to have an environment of learning that's going to be conducive to, you know, not kids picking on each other. And it's going to be about respect, and the lesson's going to be taught. We won't have to worry about more on discipline. It'll just be more on just making sure that everyone's learning and not having to worry about someone's picking on them. So again, if we live by the golden rule and treat others the way that we want to be treated, good things will always happen. According to John C. Maxwell in his book Ethics 101, he believed that the golden rule can be used to create common ground with any reasonable person. So when it comes to accountability in athletics, it means basically to respect oneself and to love the person that's next to them. Remember that the golden rule, and to always love your neighbor. That's the main thing, especially in football. You know, we've been really trying to change our approach at New Hampstead as far as making sure that our kids love each other and respect each other. And if we love each other, good things will happen to our team. In Luke 36 and verse 31, it reads, as you wish that others would do to you, do so to them. So apply the golden rule in your daily life, with your family, with your teachers, with your coaches, with your teammates. And, you know, if we do that, and if we just can remember this, that love conquers all. And if we can just love each other, good things will always come our way. Take 2 of our presentation basically talks about the ownership of your actions. You know, on the PowerPoint on this slide, I have a couple arrows that are up there that's basically saying, you know, well, it's not my fault, it's her fault, it's his fault, it's their fault. See, and when we do that, that just lets us know that we're just not taking ownership for our actions. We're always blaming someone else. Someone else is always the problem. And that's what's got to change. To me, as far as accountability goes, we have always got to be accountable for our actions and take ownership for what we do, whether it's right or wrong. When we are afraid of taking ownership, why are people afraid of taking ownership for their actions? Sometimes they're just lazy. You know, they have no drive to do the right thing. You know, nothing. There's something inside them that just says, I just don't have, I just don't feel like doing that right now. I'm just going to be lazy about the situation. I have no drive. The second thing is a fear of failure. You know, they're afraid to make a mistake, or, you know, they don't know how to learn from failure. You know, they always look at failure as, oh, here it goes again. And, you know, they end up just not wanting to take ownership for their actions. The third thing that I feel that is that they have an overwhelming feeling of the size of the problem. And sometimes that's the case. Some problems or some projects are just too big for some folks, and they end up getting overwhelmed. And when the job doesn't get done, they just feel that, hey, well, it didn't get done because you gave me too many tasks to do, you know, and what they really should have done was just ask for some help, you know, because if you ask for help, someone will, you know, should at least try to come and help you out in that situation. But those are the 3 things that I felt that people are afraid of taking ownership, is because of laziness, fear of failure, and overwhelming feeling of the size of the problem. Why is it difficult for ownership? Why is it difficult for us to take ownership? Because if we don't take ownership, a couple things are going to happen. We're going to fail at work. You know, we're not going to be very productive at work. We're always going to be making excuses. Number 2, we're going to fail as a team. You know, if everyone's always pointing fingers, well, you should have been here on that play, or you didn't make the tackle on that play. And you can see that I'm pointing fingers because I've seen it happen in sports. I've seen it happen on my teams in the past, you know, where kids have a problem of it's always his fault. That's why we lost, you know, rather than it's a team thing. The last thing is we will fail to grow as an individual if we don't take ownership for our actions. How do we become better individually of taking responsibility of our actions? One must realize that in our walk with God, that no part of our life is hidden. He sees it all as it is. One day we're going to have to take an account or give an account for our actions. In the Bible, in Romans 14:12, it tells us, so then each of us will give an account of ourselves to God. We will be accountable for it. We're going to be accountable for everything that we've said in our life. We're going to be accountable for every decision that we've made in our life, and every action that we made in our life, whether it was good or bad. It's all going to be written down, and we're going to have to make an account for everything that we've done in our life. We need to accept responsibility for your actions, be accountable for your results, and take ownership of your mistakes. The great Pat Summitt, head coach, or the late Pat Summitt, I should say, the head coach of the Tennessee Volunteers, she said responsibility equals accountability, and that equals ownership. And a sense of ownership is the most powerful weapon a team or organization can have. If they can take ownership, great things will happen in that organization or team. But it's got to start with taking ownership of our actions. Kobe Bryant said that the reason why the Lakers were successful was that his teammates had to take ownership of their own journey, of their own life. And they had to learn how to use their scars and hardships as weapons so that they could become successful on the basketball court. Dee Trotter, who I have up on my next slide, is a great story because Dee Trotter was a great Olympic athlete. And at the time, there was a time where she recalls that she had a false start in a very highly competitive race. And she was doing everything possible not to be prepared and focused for the race. She was socializing with friends and just being distracted before the race. And then as the race was starting, she was in the starting blocks and then actually committed a false start and was disqualified from the race. And after the race, she blamed everybody. She blamed her coach. She blamed her teammates for distracting her. But she really missed the main goal. The main goal was she wasn't accountable for her actions because she ultimately was the one who was responsible for the false start. Had she been focused during or before the race, that would have enabled her to not commit a false start and then be disqualified from competition. So again, the lesson learned for Dee Trotter was after some time, she gave some thought and basically said, you know what? It's not those folks that made me false start. It was me that made me false start. And I need to be more focused and I need to take ownership for my actions. And I can't blame my coaches or my teammates for making me do the false start in the competition. When she did that and realized that she was the one that had to take ownership, greatness came for her and she ended up being an Olympic champion in the 100 meters. Takeaway 3, as we get to takeaway 3 on our slide, it says, doing the right thing isn't always easy, and that's always the hardest thing to do because when folks aren't around you to see if you're doing right, you have a tendency to always want to slip up and do something that you shouldn't be doing or doing something that's wrong. Queen Latifah, a famous entertainer here that I have quoted on this slide, says, it's not always easy to do the right thing, but doing the right thing makes you strong and it builds character. And that's the biggest thing, One thing we're trying to do at New Hampstead right now is we're doing a character ed class in the mornings with our football players. And we really want them to understand that having character will make you successful, not just only in sports, but we want you to have character that's going to make you successful in life. Some of the judgment calls that you need to think about or people need to think about when it comes to making good decisions is, one thing is, could this decision hurt me? Could it hurt someone? Is the decision I make going to be fair? And lastly, how would it feel if someone did that action to me? Some of those things that you have to think about when choosing doing the right thing or not. Is it fair? How would it feel if someone did that to me personally? And then could this hurt somebody or hurt myself? In Romans 12:21 in the Bible, it says, be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. So always, when you know things aren't going to go well, or you know that this is a judgment call where don't allow evil to overcome you. You need to overcome the evil, because if you overcome the evil, you'll be able to make a good decision in the end. It's hard to do the right thing. And, I have a little cartoon up here on my slide. And as you can see on the cartoon, you have the guy in the middle, and then you have the good angel and the bad angel. The guy in red, and then you got the guy that's in the white robe. And basically, that lets you know that when no one's looking, you have to make sure that, you know, your spirit man is strong, because sometimes the flesh can overtake you and make you feel like, hey, that's okay, you can take that, or no one else is claiming that, so you can just go ahead and just take it, because even though it's not yours, again, you've got to make the right decision. Listen to your spirit man. You know, hopefully you've got a good relationship with God, and then you can be able to hear your spirit man to let you know of what decision that you need to do that's right. In 1 John 3:7, it says, "Little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous." So just keep that in mind moving forward. Bruce Brown, in his book, he said he believed, when it comes to accountability in athletics, he believed that being accountable is a choice, and that will aid in both individual and team improvement. And I think that's a good statement right there, because I believe you have to learn how to be accountable as an individual first. And if enough individuals can do that, then collectively your team is going to be your team is going to get better for it, because you have a group of individuals who are taking the necessary steps in making themselves more accountable. Some things we need to consider: how can we help others be more accountable? That's something that I thought that should be on my PowerPoint. And one thing that I thought was, we need to provide resources for people that resources that they need to help them do their job successfully. That way they can't ever say, well, I didn't have this or I didn't have that. And we provide those folks with the necessary tools and resources, then we in turn are helping ourselves achieve a common goal of getting the job done. And they won't have to come up with the excuses of why they couldn't get it done. The second thing is to help others in accountability. Sorry about that. Is communicate their role and responsibility. Let them know off the top, look, this is what I need you to do. This is your responsibility, and now I need you to execute. Okay. Last thing is give them praise. And what I mean by that is, when they do a good job, you've got to say, hey man, you did a good job. Like, really, I thought you did a good job. And just a little bit of praise like that can go a long way and can give a person a lot of confidence. I would like to conclude my PowerPoint with this slide, and it says, at the end of the day, we are accountable to ourselves. Our success is a result of what we do. And that was from Catherine Pulsifer. I want to just thank you again for taking the time to watch and listen to my presentation. I want to thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you guys again. Take care.